you everyone for joining me this evening. This is one of my most exciting topics, is how to rehab for big profit. This is exactly how we got started about 10 years ago. Our first deal was a rehab project. So this is going to be a very exciting topic. So definitely take some notes and definitely ask your questions, so that way get some invaluable information on how you get started in this industry on rehabbing real estate properties for big profit as well. I'm also excited about our guest speaker that you'll be hearing from him later, who started real estate investing around the same time I did as well. So you can get different perspectives from two different people on the same exact topic. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. First of all, when we talk about rehabbing, what is a good rehab and what does this look like? All right. Basically, your goal as a rehabber is to buy a distressed residential property. And by the way, guys, I did forget to mention that I have not forgotten that the folks who are watching us on Facebook as well, for those who are seeing our live stream on Facebook, welcome. And we welcome you to type your questions in Facebook as well, so that way we can go ahead and address those questions at the end of the presentation. Okay, so going back to the good rehab, you're buying a property that's distressed. Now, does it have to be distressed physically? And the answer is no. It could be distressed with the fact that the homeowners are motivated in a way because of circumstances. Maybe they need some quick cash, or maybe they have situations where they just need to liquidate their real estate due to unforeseen circumstances. So here are a couple of examples of what we mean by distressed homes. Okay, so maybe the house physically is going through seller neglect. Maybe it's been vacant for a while, or maybe they have lived there, but for whatever reason they haven't maintained the lawn, they haven't maintained the roof, the windows, the doors, the cosmetic upkeep of the actual property. So there's going through a lot of seller neglect over a period of time. All right, maybe the homeowner needs cash quickly. Maybe they just, they need to take care of some things that were unforeseen, medical bills, other debt, situations with family members where they need cash. If they need cash quickly, the best way to get it, if they have equity in their house, is to sell their piece of real estate, no matter what condition it is. All right. Maybe the house is in pre-foreclosure. Now, this is different than an actual short sale or foreclosure. Okay. A pre-foreclosure is a house where the mortgage is less than the value of the house. So there's actually equity there. And let's say the house is worth $300,000, but the mortgage is only $100,000. So that means that there's equity there, and because there's equity, the bank would tend to foreclose on those much quicker because they want to grab the rest of the equity. So if you miss 1, 2, or 3 payments, then most likely they'll go to foreclosure proceedings much quicker, and you risk losing all the equity. So we can help people avoid pre-foreclosure, so that way they don't lose that equity to the bank. All right, maybe they're a burnt out landlord where the tenant is not paying rent, or maybe the tenant is not taking care of the property. They tore it up. They really did not upkeep the property as a regular tenant should. And now the house is in disrepair and the landlord does not have the money to fix it up. All right. Or maybe bad landlord. Okay. It goes both ways. Okay. So if you got bad tenant, you got bad landlord. So maybe the tenant's doing what they're supposed to be doing, but the landlord is not. Maybe they're a slumlord. They're not maintaining the property the way they're supposed to, and they're nickel and diming every little thing because they're stingy about regular upkeep and also repairs and maintenance. In addition to that, they're not upkeeping with capital expenditures that needs to be done to the house on a very consistent basis over 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So there's also a situation where there's bad landlords. Okay, probate property, where a property is owned by someone, or maybe a person or a couple that passed away or deceased, and now it's going through a probate process in a state where it sits in, and it goes through that process to see who now controls the estate. Most of the time, it's the kids of the deceased homeowners, but if there are no kids, it goes to an estate process to figure out who controls the actual estate and controls the property. Some states may take months before you can actually do anything because they have to go through a court order before they actually sell the property through a probate process. Some states are faster, okay? And then you have divorce, all right? So if there's a divorce going on, maybe the husband and the wife, they're not contesting, or maybe they are contesting, but they want to go ahead and sell their real estate quickly, so that way they can resolve their divorce as quickly as possible without costing much legal money. Job relocation, they just need to sell their house quickly, and their employer is not assisting them with any kind of sale of their home or any kind of time frame for them moving. So they need to sell their house quickly, no matter what the cost is, because the job opportunity at that new location is just too good to ignore. And so they want to sell, get out, move on to their new location with their new job opportunity. Okay, and then the owner's not local. So this could be a number of reasons. Maybe they owned a rental property for a while, or maybe they inherited the property and they're not local, and they don't want to fly back to that location to be able to take care of their property, both physically and also financially. So they just want to liquidate, get it off their shoulders, and move on to the next thing in their life. Okay. So once you find a good deal, depending on what the circumstances are, now you want to go ahead and add value to it by renovating and updating the home. Okay. Most of the homes we buy as a rehab does need some kind of physical update, whether it be cosmetic, whether it be a floor plan change, or whether it be structural issues or whatever. We need to update the house to today's standard, and also put it in a way where today's generations we can exceed the expectation of what today's generations are expecting for what a new home should look like. Okay. And once you're done renovating the house, maybe you're adding a bathroom, you update the kitchen, change the siding, change the windows, change the roof, change the HVAC, and so forth. Now it looks very presentable, and people can come in and get a mortgage to buy this new house, and you sell that house at a higher price for a very big profit. Now, you have to do the proper analysis to be able to get that big profit, and you have to buy at the right price and manage your contractor in a way to where they don't overrun the budget or do things they're not supposed to do. And once you do all that in order and do it properly, you're not going to sell the property for a big profit. Okay. So that's the general concept of what a rehab is and what a good one should look like. Okay. All right. And I'm not sure what happened to my slide there. My slide disappeared. Where did it go? Okay, so my slides are back. So let me go back to the slide where we left off at. All right. So you sell for a big profit. Now, let's go through an actual example of a real deal that we personally did and what it looked like before and after, and then we'll take a look at the numbers on how the profits work. Okay, so here's a house that we did in Southeast DC. Here's the address, and you can tell here from this house it's a brick semi-detached house that's connected to other units along the way. It is an end unit, so it tends to be higher value because there's more windows on an end unit and also a little bit more land compared to the regular unit that's in between all the other units. Okay, you'll see here that there's not a lot of curb appeal. There's a very outdated awning on the front door. There's two trees sitting right by the foundation that over time, the roots of those trees can easily encroach on the foundation, cause cracks and cause issues. And it just doesn't look very good because it's covering up the entire house. Okay, so we took that house from what it looked like there, and we turned it into this. Now, this is the same exact house. We took out those two trees. We removed the shrubs that weren't looking very well. We added some mulch and some new shrub. We painted the front door. We painted the brick, installed new windows, removed that ugly awning, and now it looks like a brand new house. And you can see it's like night and day compared to the neighbor's house. Okay, so there's a lot more curb appeal from there. In addition to that, you'll see the stairs and the sidewalks that go up to the front door. We sealed the cracks, we painted the sidewalks, and paint and sealing does not cost a lot of money. Painting the brick does not cost a lot of money, but it looks brand new again, looks very fresh, and the new homeowner is very excited because it looks nice and fresh. Okay, same exact house. Here's inside the house. When you walk into the front door, this is the living room / dining room area. It's a very small house, roughly 1,200 square feet, including the basement. It came with 2-bedroom, 1 bath. We turned it into 3-bedroom, 2 bath. So that way we can add some value there. So you take a look at it, there's a lot of junk and debris that the previous owner left behind. We don't know why they were there, but over time, things just pile up. And you can see it from this picture, there's a lawnmower in the front living room. We don't know why it's there. There are weed whackers everywhere. We don't know why it's there, okay? There are also window units of air conditioning that's in almost every room, which says to us immediately that there's no central air conditioning. So we knew for a fact that we would need to install central air. Okay, so this is what it looked like before, and this is what it looked like afterwards. Okay, so same exact room. All right, we removed all the junk, and underneath that junk was actually carpet, but underneath the carpet was hardwood floors. So the original hardwood floors was not bad condition. We went ahead and refinished it with new stain and polyethylene, so that way it looks shiny again, it looks brand new, and it smells fresh. In addition to that, the wall that separates the kitchen from the dining room was non-load bearing, so we removed that wall, so that way the kitchen can be opened up to something much bigger. It's open concept, and it looks much cleaner and everything else. In addition to that, you'll notice in the ceiling, we've also installed recessed lights. It makes it much more bright, makes it look much more clean, and it looks very, very nice. Okay. All right, so here's the actual kitchen. All right, before it was renovated, things were not flowing very well. The refrigerator was in an odd place, not a lot of cabinet space, and there was a stove that was against the wall. Back then in the 1940s and 50s, that was acceptable, but in today's code, a stove cannot be against a wall due to a fire hazard. So if you're cooking right next to a wall and you left the burner running, you may cause a fire or other issues with the drywall next to it. And that's why today we have to remove the stove away from the wall, and it has to be in the middle or something that's not against the wall. Okay. So this is what it looks like afterwards. We're on the same angle. Remember, we removed that wall. We moved the sink to the other side onto an island. We moved the refrigerator where the sink used to be. We moved the stove in just a little bit so that way it's not against the wall. And we installed a range and a microwave above the stove. And now it looks much more open, much more functionable, and much more clean. All right. The cabinets are white shaker cabinets. They're in stock cabinets. They're also 42 inches. So there's a lot of cabinet space for the new owner to be able to store all the materials, the dishes, the pots and pans, and also the silverware. Okay, going on to the bathroom. This is the bathroom that was upstairs. You can tell that's very outdated. It was probably renovated back in the 80s because you see the white tiles with the black bullnose on the edge of the wall. That was the design that was very popular back in the 80s and early 90s. And of course, that was 30, 40 years ago. And that's not in anymore. So we went ahead and replaced everything. We removed the tub, the vanity, the toilet, the tiles, and replaced it with today's standards. All right, so this is the same exact bathroom with new everything. And the tiles that we installed go all the way up to the ceiling and makes it look very nice and very fresh. All the faucets and all the fixtures are brushed nickel. The knobs are brushed nickel, matches very well. The flooring matches with the wall on the tiles. And of course, you have the new tub, the new toilet, the new vanity, and it flows very nicely. Okay, so let's take a look at the numbers for those who are very analytical and want to see how the numbers work. Well, we purchased the price for $145,000. Now, this house went through probate. The heirs of the property had their parent passed away, and it went through a 6-month probate process in DC. And they went ahead and once they got the probate done, they were able to be authorized to sell on behalf of the estate. They agreed to a price of $145,000. Okay, we purchased as is. They left everything there. They did not touch a single thing inside the property. We took care of everything. Closing cost was roughly $5,000. Renovation was $75,000. The holding cost of this property was roughly 7 months. This includes interest, taxes, utilities, and so forth for our mortgage and everything. So that's roughly $15,000 over a 7-month period. Resale cost, this includes closing costs and also commissions that we paid to our licensed real estate agent, $21,000. And then the offer that we got, the purchaser actually requested a seller subsidy of $10,500, and the sales price was $350,000. Now, once we did all the math together, our total profit was $78,000 for this one particular deal, and it took 7 months to earn this property, to earn this profit for this one property. If you do the math, $78,000 divided by 7 months, it's roughly $11,000 per month for just one deal. Now, that's just one deal, and you can do one deal very easily on a part-time basis. And so just imagine while you're still working your full-time job, you're managing this deal on a part-time basis, you make more on your real estate project than you do in your full-time job, and that's exciting. That's just one deal. If you got 2 deals or 3 deals going simultaneously, which I have done very often in the past on a part-time basis, very easy to manage if you follow the right system. Just imagine $30,000, $40,000 per month in real estate, and you're doing it part-time. You have not even quit your full-time job yet, okay? So so those kinds of numbers are very exciting, and you can easily do this by finding the right deal and having the right team to do the deal for you on your behalf, all right? So now, guys, that's an example. What I want to do now is to introduce a guest speaker. Mr. Kurt Morton is a licensed real estate agent with Fairfax Realty. I met him 10 years ago in the same training event that we took when we first started to learn how to rehab. And he's been with me every step of the way, from all the mistakes and all the blunders we did at the beginning to all the successes we've done today. He's our exclusive agent that lists almost all of our rehabbing properties on the market and sells it pretty quickly. He's going to go through his experiences as a rehabber and as his experience as a licensed agent as well on how to represent rehabbers like us very successfully. So, Mr. Kurt Morton, I'll turn it over to you, okay?
Hey, Jan, can you hear me? All right.
Yes, I can.
Thanks, Jan. All right. Well, really happy to be here with everyone tonight. Looking to share my experiences, my background. I'm also going to go through a couple of deals that I've done and definitely answer any questions that you guys have. So just real quick, first up, kind of going through a background of kind of my history. So, I've always was interested in investments growing up. I was actually able to invest some money even before graduating high school, and did experience some of the losses of the stock market crash of 2001 with the .com bust. So that was a shocking experience for me as a young teenager, but also kind of set me in this path of, as going into college, thinking that, geez, the stock market was pretty crazy. I should look at something a little bit more stable. So did a lot of research in college about real estate investing, read a lot of books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Millionaire Next Door, a lot of those types of books that gave a lot of information on kind of building wealth over time through real estate. So pretty much as soon as I graduated college, I went off and bought my first property in 2004. And then 2 years later, in 2006, I got my real estate license. And then also in that same year, purchased my second property and actually became a landlord because I turned that first property into a rental. Thought I was a genius, from buying the first property and even the second property. They both appreciated by 10% over the course of less than a year. Thought I was just kind of keep riding that, and then obviously the financial collapse of 2008 occurred, and was pretty painful. I went from owning two properties that were worth around $650,000 at the time to at the bottom probably close to under 400. So that was pretty painful and quite a learning experience for me. The financial impact of that, definitely had to kind of slow down on my investment plans and kind of be more focused on kind of my primary career, really, at the time in engineering, and decided to get my MBA and kind of refocus on trying to increase my income that way. However, from 2006 when I got my license, through 2011, I was working as an agent part-time, selling properties to friends, family, acquaintances, and it was a really good kind of second income. And then in 2011, like Jan said, we actually met at we took the same grid rehabbing boot camp together, and started looking for properties to rehab. So it was a little rough at first, getting a good process in place and a good system. But was making multiple offers at the time. There were a lot of properties coming onto MLS, lots of foreclosures, lots of short sales. So certainly there was no real issue with inventory, and we got pretty good at it. We got a fair number of properties under contract and rehabbed. Then in 2013, I started a hard money lending business, and I've been doing that ever since. The efforts I put into the investment side of the business really paid off in my agent side of the business as well. It was very complementary. I could leverage a lot of my investor clients and friends into real estate clients, and that actually was able to allow me to be basically a top producing agent, wherein it's not my full-time kind of job. A top producing agent from 2013 now through 2019, the last 6 years. So that's been really incredible, and really thankful for the relationships I've been able to build and the clients I've been able to help. So basically, between rehabs I've done myself, being an agent, or being a hard money lender, I've been involved with over 200 rehabs now since 2011. So pretty broad experience base at this point, and hopefully I can kind of bring some insight into you guys for things that I look for, and certainly answer any questions that you have. So rehabbing basics, obviously one of the biggest aspects of this is marketing. You really have to put some energy and time into how you're planning on sourcing your deal. The market in current times and probably the last 3 or 4 years, it's been pretty difficult to find properties on MLS that you can obtain for a price point that would allow you to make the kind of profit numbers that we're going to talk about tonight, and Jan just went through with his example. Usually once it hits MLS, the margins really get cut. There's a lot of competition. You'll find that the people bidding on those properties, you don't have the same criteria that we would want to have as far as some of the costs that they may have going into it. Perhaps, potentially they're an all cash buyer. Maybe they're not planning on earning a return on that cash. Or they're a general contractor or someone that can do something for dramatically cheaper than we would be able to do as just an investor. So, you want to be doing something to market directly to sellers in order to, get a kind of exclusive relationship to purchase the property, at a good price for an investor. Location, I always tell people, you make sure you understand, where you're buying the property and what the surroundings are. Make sure you look at the neighbors. You want to try to avoid double yellow line properties, places where there's a high traffic, high noise. Generally, that's going to be something that detracts from the value of the property, even if it's really nicely renovated. People don't want to have their young children, playing outside in the front yard when there's cars speeding past at 40 miles an hour, things like that. And really, understanding what the property is going to be worth at the end of the day. If you can't nail this part of the process, it's going to be really tough for you to do everything else. Because if you don't know what the value of the property is going to be at the end of the renovation, it's really hard for you to determine how much you can pay for this property and how much money you can put into it and still make a good profit. So you definitely want to kind of master that art of understanding what something's going to be worth. You want to look at all the recent comps, try to get properties as close as you can to the property type that you're looking at. And then go source a second opinion if you're not sure. Going to someone else in your network, a real estate agent, an investor, or someone else that that can help you. Certainly something that's worth doing, especially if you're past the point of just the initial marketing. If maybe you're in a negotiation process, or you're already under contract and you're in that period of time where you can still get out of the contract, that's a good time to get that second opinion. I always tell people, these negotiations that you do are so important because a majority of the profit that you make on a property is when you buy. You need to purchase that property under the market value in order to capture that when you go to resale. You can do value add investing. That's something that's a little more advanced, maybe doing an addition off the back or popping the top, something to really expand the overall size and footprint of the property. Certainly like a tear down rebuild would be an example of that, where you maybe could pay market value for a property, but still make a good profit because of all of the value you're adding to the property. But generally, 75 to 80% of your profit's going to come out of just that day one purchase price. Okay, so after you have acquired the property, definitely choosing the right contractor is super important. I've seen a lot of people go through just unbelievable pain and misery choosing the wrong person to renovate your property. Make sure you get a renovator and contractor who is a wholesale type person. You don't want someone that's off of Angie's list. You want someone that's going to give you pricing that works for investors. If you go to someone that does retail renovations, for people in a high cost of living area, their costs are going to be pretty high because they're used to those kinds of prices. So you want to find someone that's willing to work with an investor and give you a really good price for that work. You also want to make sure you get referrals from other investors who have used that contractor in the past. Even good price contractors can still create huge problems if they're not the kind of person that you want to work with. You can build trust and mutual understanding of the kind of work they're going to do and the timeline that they're going to do it over. Which kind of brings me to the next point is hold time. Really make sure you understand how long it's going to take you to renovate this property. I've seen a lot of people get into a project and then either through complications with permits or complications with their contractor, it ends up taking 2, 3, 6 plus months longer than they were planning. And especially if you're using hard money to finance your property or you have other high interest debt that you're using to purchase it, that hold time will create a huge problem for your overall cash position. Hopefully you have enough cash in reserve to make those payments. But if you don't, it can end up eating away the profit over time. Even if you have the money, your profit every month slowly trickles away. So you really want to make sure you understand how long it's going to take you to rehab the property and then sell it. Also understanding the market cycles, understanding that hold time, will allow you to know when the best time is to maybe be more aggressive when you're pricing. Generally, I like to do most of I tend to put more effort into looking for rehabs in the, fall, winter, early spring market. You definitely don't want to be buying a house in the middle of summer or even in the late spring. Generally, that means you're going to be putting the house back on the market in the fall or winter, which is generally not the greatest of times to try to sell a property. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means you probably need to build a little bit more cushion into your numbers, or be a little bit more conservative on your retail value, because of the time of year you're not going to get the premium that you might see in the spring or summer markets. Effective sales techniques. So, I know people that, they go through this process and then they'll go to hire their real estate agent at the end of the day. And it's not someone that maybe, does a lot of real estate. Maybe it's a friend or it's a family member. Everyone knows somebody that's a realtor. But, you really need to make sure you are working with the right agent and they understand how to sell renovated properties. There's a lot of aspects of it that are easy. I mean, the properties generally look beautiful. Which is really great from a marketing perspective. But a lot of times people will put all this effort in, and then you'll go to see that their real estate agent maybe didn't hire a professional photographer, or didn't go through the process of marketing the property prior to listing. That way, once it hits the market, they can get a great offer right away. So really making sure you price the property correctly, and you're working with someone that's going to best represent this property for the end buyer. Certainly. In the communication that your agent has with the buyer and the buyer's agent, instilling confidence in the quality of the work and the quality of the house is really important. Once you lose that confidence of the buyer, it's really hard to get it back, and it's going to potentially be pretty costly to get it back. And if you don't get it back, then you're going back on the market, and it's always a really hard conversation about why a rehabbed, perfect-looking property didn't go through. So you want to make sure you try to close that deal on your first attempt. Exit strategy. I always tell people, when you go into a property, it's always good to have kind of a backup plan. I mean, most times, your exit strategy, from the beginning, you're going to rehab it, you're going to sell it, but things happen. You need to have maybe a backup plan, being able to maybe turn it into a rental. I even know people that, went to renovate a property, and at the end, it ended up that they moved into the property and turned into their primary residence. So, just having a backup plan is a good idea, and kind of laying some of the groundwork to be able to make that happen is really important. Things like making sure you have a good credit score, you can get financing, you'll have a period of time, while you have this hard money loan to get some of those things worked out. You can also turn it into a rental property. I know a lot of people that, maybe they listed the house and had trouble selling it for what the price that they needed, and then they just turned it into a rental and held on to it for a little bit longer, and then sold it a few years later. Leverage into the future. This is something I always like to talk to people about. I've seen a lot of people go through and they'll do a flip, and it's like amazing. They'll make a lot of money, and then sometimes you never see them again, or you'll see they'll go to the next deal and maybe not do so well, and then have to walk away. I just, in my personal life, and the deals that I've done, I always, try to leverage my success into future success. Someone that goes and does a flip, and then they take all the money they made from that flip and they spend it all on things they want to buy for themselves, in the first 30 days, it's just, okay, then you're back to where you started. If you can do a flip, create, a good amount of equity for yourself, that'll allow you to leverage into your next deal, at maybe more favorable terms than you had on your first deal. And then it just continues to kind of snowball. So I really encourage people to, enjoy yourself, reward yourself for the hard work that you do, but, save some for the future to make your future deals even more successful. Okay, and then so I'm just going to walk through two quick examples of rehabs that I've been involved with. This is a property in Tacoma Park, Maryland. This is one that I did personally myself, and I actually met the seller, or I got connected to the seller through actually someone in this group. So, coming to these events, certainly is a great way to meet people and potentially find deals. So this particular property, the gentleman's brother was going through some medical issues and needed to sell the property quick. The property was in really bad shape, certainly not financeable. So was able to purchase it from him and rehab the property. So this is kind of what it looked like to start off with. It was, pretty small little, kind of Cape Cod-y sort of situation. The top was, not finished, but, it was a nice overall, had good bones, had a good brick exterior, had a decent look. Once you, got all of the junk and trees and everything and brushes out of the way. So it kind of went from this to this is the finished property here. So kind of converted that side porch area to a nice sitting deck kind of area. Obviously painted the whole thing, put on some dormers on the top, replaced the front door, new railings, new landscaping, took out all the bushes and everything else. So came out pretty nice. Here's the back of the property. So it, just kind of had that normal roof line, and then it had a sunroom off the back. And so we did a pretty large value add to this property. We actually popped up the back half of the house there, and also converted that sunroom into living space. We opened it up to the kitchen that was adjacent to that in the back there, and kind of made it into a larger kind of living area adjacent to the kitchen. So really transformed the look of this house. So this was what the attic space looked like prior to the renovation, and this is what it looked like after. So we added kind of an office sitting area in the top left there, and then a large master bedroom with vaulted ceilings, and then a large master bath as well. So it came out really great. The high ceilings is just not something you normally see in a house like this. Had a large walk-in closet, a huge master bath with custom tile work in the shower. So it came out really nice. So this is the living room, like the other property Jan had. This was after the owner's family had been clearing out the house for like 2 weeks. There was still this much stuff in there. I have another picture where they hadn't gotten to that room yet, and there was just basically stuff everywhere, about up to your waist, maybe a little bit higher. So it turned it into, luckily we were actually able to save the hardwood underneath all of that and refinish it down, saved a lot of money, just basically sanding it down and restaining it. Like Jan pointed out earlier, did new windows, put in recessed lighting everywhere to really brighten up the space and open it up. This was the one and only bathroom in this house. So I've seen some pretty bad bathrooms in my time, but this one by far was the worst I've ever seen, and was the only one, which was pretty upsetting considering the gentleman had only moved out maybe a few weeks before I saw it. So anyway, turned the bathroom from that, obviously tore out everything down to the studs. The drywall wasn't even salvageable, and put in all new vanities, toilet, tub, again with the custom tile. And then this was the kitchen, and this was pretty bad. Just as far as a cleanliness perspective. I did notice that there were cleaners sitting right there on the counter. However, no one had ever used them, I don't think. So it was pretty sad. But we were able to, again, kind of tear out that wall between the kitchen and the sunroom to open it all up and put in a really nice kitchen, with granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, custom cabinets. It really showcased the house really nicely. And then this was that sunroom again. The stuff was just piled up, above my waist. And then, after we finished it out, put in some, normal windows, recessed lighting, came out pretty nice with some tile on the floor. And then this was just the basement. It was an unfinished basement, about 8-foot ceilings. Nothing too exciting to write home about, but we were able to basically finish it out. Lost some headroom because of duct work that we had to run throughout the house, but we're able to put in a full bedroom, and a full bath also into that basement. So it was really able to add. It went from a 2-bedroom, 1-bath to a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. So definitely added a lot of square footage and bedroom bathroom count. So overall, purchased the property for $211,000. Had $25,000 in holding costs. The renovation was pretty significant because of the popping up the ceiling and all of the issues with the house. Was $156,000. However, I was able to sell it for $552,000. My resale cost was $36,000, so that left me with a profit of $123,000. Was pretty happy with that outcome, and would certainly pick up another project like that anytime. This next deal was in Columbia, Maryland. This property, it was not one that I owned. However, I helped with the financing as well as was the real estate agent that sold the property. So this one was purchased off of MLS. So this is one of the ones that actually came through that process a few years. It was a short sale. So they got a pretty good price on it, and we're able to really turn it around from what it was. So it had a pretty ugly exterior, certainly a lot of deferred maintenance and yard work, and just not attractive colors for today's standards. So basically turned it from that into this. So the gray colors with the black and white, really pops, gives a lot of curb appeal. Cleaned up the landscaping, did a great job to really make it shine. Kind of became one of the nicest houses in the neighborhood. The kitchen was not disgusting like the last one, but was definitely dated. Mismatching old appliances. The flooring was kind of tearing up and cracked. The countertop and everything is just not what people are looking for these days. So I was able to kind of convert that into, again, that new look that everyone's looking for. Light colors, recessed lights. Had a nice dark hardwood floor. Custom cabinets, backsplash with stainless steel appliances. So the bedrooms, had kind of gross, carpet, but again, wasn't terrible condition. Definitely needed new doors put in. You always want to get those new doors put in to the new 6 panels compared to these older doors. So did a good job, and we also staged this property. Was something we did to kind of enhance the view of what people were seeing when they came in. Again, did the hardwood upstairs in the master bedroom there. So this was the living room. So there was water damage to this property, as most of you can probably tell. The ceiling actually kind of came down, and there was a lot of damage that had to be torn out and fixed and replaced, and some mold remediation. But through all the effort that was put in, it kind of went from this to now a pretty nice area there with the good hardwood, and again, replaced the windows and brightened everything up with new paint and recessed lighting in the living room. So overall summary, they purchased it for $255,000. Holding cost was $35,000. Renovation of $115,000. This property, I did list it as coming soon. Got a lot of interest in the house. We actually listed it at $499,000. And basically within 3 or 4 hours of going active, we had someone that came in and made an offer of $521,000. Basically no contingencies. They really wanted it. So we basically went under contract within 24 hours of going on the market. And then the resale cost of $32,000, leaving the investors with a total profit of $84,000. So again, a pretty good deal, and not quite as significant rehab as the last one, but certainly a lot of work. It was a pretty large house, so a lot of area to cover. So so that's basically the 2 deals I was going to go through, and certainly am open to answering any questions you may have. This is just my contact information. If anyone wants to reach out to me to talk about any of the various things that I do. I'm kind of a serial real estate entrepreneur. So I certainly can provide real estate agent services, hard money lending. I also purchase wholesales, and interested in talking to people about partnering and joint ventures as well, depending on the situation. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to go through anything you guys are interested in.
All right, well, Kurt, thank you very much. We'll be taking questions shortly after the next slide here. So that was very insightful, and I do remember that property, and I thought I'd seen it all, but now I've seen everything.
Yes.
So good stuff. So going back to the other slide, guys. So basically, you've heard from Kurt and his experience as a rehabber. As you can see, he has in-depth experience not only as a rehabber but also as a licensed agent selling renovated property, and also assessing and underwriting properties for other rehabbers as well from a loan perspective. So he's a well-versed person to be able to understand exactly what to look for when it comes to a good deal. And if the deal doesn't look good from a lending perspective, he's not just going to loan you the money. He's going to tell you exactly what he thinks the ARV is, what he thinks the renovation cost will be based on the pictures that you send him. And that way you feel comfortable with the margins based on his assessment. So it's good to have a second person to take a look at your numbers to make sure that we don't make mistakes. After all, we all are human, and one of us can easily make a mistake, but 2 of us, very, very unlikely, okay? So what we're going to do right now is go through some questions. And then we'll go from there. So Nicholas, I'm going to turn it over to you to be able to address some of the questions, and we'll start addressing them in the order to receive from both Facebook and also here in Click Meeting.
Awesome. Okay. So the first question that we have is from Chinor. I'm sorry if I say that wrong. It is for Kurt, and they ask, how would you recommend going about finding the right contractor, especially for someone who is new to investing?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think by far the best method of finding a good contractor for an investor is through a referral. I'd highly recommend, if you're serious about getting into investing, attending meetings like this one. There's lots of others out there as well. But I think expand your network and make inquiries. Form relationships with people. Find the person in the room that you want to model yourself after. Take them out to lunch. Maybe not right now with COVID, depending on what that situation is. But form a relationship with someone that you want to build your business like, and find out how they did it and the kind of contractors they use. See if you can get them to refer their contractors to you. That is by far the best way to find the right kind of person. Generally, like I said, finding like a contractor on Craigslist or through some other advertising method, you're not necessarily going to find the right kind of contractor that investors want to work with. If you can't find, if you can't get a good referral, at a minimum, I'd recommend, at least when you do get in contact with someone that's a contractor, ask for references, try to see any current projects they're working on. You can tell a lot about a contractor if you walk into a property about 2 to 3 weeks before it's supposed to go on the market. You can see, what kind of things they, are good at or maybe not good at. You can go and kind of tell, are they doing the kind of renovations? Do they have the same kind of eye that you want for your property? If you walk into a renovation they're doing, you think, God, this doesn't really look so great compared to a lot of the other rehabs I'm seeing, that's a good indication that they may not be the good contractor. The contractors that I work with and Nhan works with, a lot of times, like, they have the eye for what things should look like. I mean, you can give them your design ideas, but they know how to make the property look good too. And you can get good advice and good ways to save money and still make it look really great.
This next question is from Yvonne. I'm not sure if this is for you, Kurt, or if it's for Nhan, so I'm going to assume that it's for both of you. Either of you can answer. She asks, where's the best place to find rehab and foreclosures?
Okay, so since Kurt took the first one, I'll take this one, so that way I'll give him a break. Okay, so what's the best place to find a rehab? Well, first of all, you have to decide which area you want to focus on. So for me personally, I chose DC metropolitan area, which includes Northern Virginia, inside the district, and also the 2 counties in Maryland that surrounds DC. So you have to choose which places you're comfortable going to see property, which ones you're most familiar with. And it doesn't have to be the entire DMV area like me. It could be one county, it could be one zip code, it could be multiple zip codes, but focus on somewhere first, get familiar with the area, and then start marketing that area for motivated sellers. Now, a lot of people is going to say, hey, it's so hard to find a deal in Northern Virginia. It's so hard to find a deal in so-and-so. It's just so hard. And I hear that over and over again. And my question to them is, are you looking in the right place? See, I always tell people you can't find milk in the bread aisle, right? You got to know where to look if you're going to look for a good deal. So what you're trying to do is look for motivated sellers who are willing to sell the house at a discount because of circumstances. And you cannot find a motivated seller. That means you're looking in the wrong spot. You're marketing in the wrong areas. Your lead generation system is not correct. So the question about how to find a good deal is not, it's not that it's going to be a short sale, if it's a foreclosure, if it's a probate. It doesn't matter what kind of deal it is. My question is your marketing system working? That is a marketing lead generation question. The rehabbing question falls afterwards with the analysis and renovating the actual property. But let me give you an example. Let me see if I can do this right. Let me share my screen, okay? Just to share an example. I'm not sure if I'm doing this right, but give me 1 second. All right, so if you guys, so Nicholas, can you see my screen? Okay, I'm assuming you guys can. Kurt, can you see my screen?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so here's an example. Now, I'm not advocating Zillow, okay? I don't like Zillow. I don't like their numbers, but I'm using Zillow just to illustrate something. For example, this property here is in Northern Virginia. So everyone who told me that they can't find a property in Northern Virginia, I showed this to them, said, what's your problem, right? They said, look, I found one here in Northern Virginia, Woodbridge, and you take a look at the Zestimate was almost $300,000. If you take a look at the tax assessed value over here, I'm not sure if you can see the tax assessed value, but the tax assessed value for this property in Prince William County is $262,000. We purchased this a few weeks ago for $140,000. That's over $100,000 less than the tax assessed value. Now, why were we able to get this so cheap? The reason why was because the seller is motivated. The tenant has been there for 6 months and have not been paying rent. They tore up the property. He did not have money to renovate the property. He had a failing health issue where he was much older and needed some cash to take care of his medical bills. And I took a look at it, and based on the numbers we analyzed, we told him we can close within 2 weeks at this number. And he agreed to that. We went ahead and settled. He got his money and was able to take care of the bills that he was not able to take care of before the sale of the property. All right, so here's the example of how we can find a deal. Now, was this a foreclosure? No. Was it a short sale? No. It was a for sale by owner with a motivated seller, okay? Now, that doesn't mean that this is the only place to look. There are short sales out there. There are pre-foreclosures out there. There are tax sales out there that are a good deal, but the criteria is all the same. It's a seller motivated enough to sell to you at the right number for you to make a decent profit and reduce your risk based on your margins, okay? So let me go ahead and unshare my screen now and sharing, okay? So there's an example of how you can find an actual deal, all right? And again, you just got to know how to find in the right location, find a motivated seller, have the right message. You know, we buy houses. We're going to buy it as is. We're going to pay cash. We can close fast. Your value proposition is that you close fast, you use cash. Whether you have cash in the bank or not doesn't matter, okay? You're using cash because you're probably going to use a hard money lender. And those right there are value that the seller wants because they want to sell fast. They don't want to wait around for a home inspection. They don't want to wait around for an appraisal or financing or a mortgage. They don't want to wait around for all that. They want to close like yesterday. And because you're able to close like yesterday, they're willing to sell to you at a discount. So hopefully that answers that question, Yvonne, in great detail.
One more question. This one is from Naveen, and this is for Kurt. They ask, as Kurt mentioned, it is getting harder to find deals that make sense. What formula do you think works in today's DMV market?
I mean, I think you shouldn't be changing your formula, you know, based on the market. You know, you need to find deals that fit your formula, if that makes sense. You know, like I said, I think a lot of times I'm seeing properties that are selling at, you know, 85 to even 90% of ARV. And, you know, from my perspective, I don't really see how that's profitable when you're trying to do a rehab. So, you know, generally, you know, I think the numbers that, you know, we've always said are the numbers you should be using, you know, 65, 70% of ARV minus the rehab cost. And that's what you should be looking at from purchasing a property. You know, if you're kind of taking a different view of things and you're maybe making like an appreciation play, it's not something you're going to try to necessarily flip. You know, you can look at things differently. You know, if there's a cash flow, you know, position, if you're going to turn it into a rental, you know, or something like that, you know, you could potentially change your numbers a little bit. But, you know, you really, you know, you don't want to change your equation to make the deal work. It's really easy if you're sitting there looking at the numbers and you're trying to play with them to make the numbers work out. It's easy to fool yourself into how, you know, things can look. You know, a lot of times, you know, you really want to make a deal work because you're excited about it and you like the property. You know, I've been caught in that mistake myself, you know, where I say, well, you know, maybe I could get that extra 20 or 25,000, you know, when I go to sell the property. You know, maybe it won't cost, you know, 80,000, maybe it'll cost 60, and maybe it'll only take me 4 months instead of 6. You know, so you can start playing with those kinds of numbers to kind of make the profit potential look more attractive. And I just, you know, you can't let yourself do that because that's how you can get yourself into a really bad position. So, you know, again, just 65 to 70% of ARV, you know, minus the rehab cost is the kind of formula you should be looking for.
John, he asks, what do we need to do if we want to offer a deal to your team as a wholesale deal?
Great question, John. Well, I appreciate that. If you have a deal that fits the formula that we would buy it at, then you can certainly send it over to us with the address and the asking price. And you can send it over to our email address. at support@fortunehomesteam.com. So I believe Nicholas can type that out in the chat tool later, but support@fortunehomesteam.com. That will go to the right people to analyze the deal. And also, you want to give definitely a time frame on how fast it needs to close, on whether or not you already have it under contract. If it's ratified, you need to assign it right away. Then we can go ahead and start working on it as soon as possible for you once you have that deal for us. Now, it could go to us personally. Or it could go to someone on our team that has already attended our boot camp trainings and wants a potential deal in a particular area. Whether it's going to be us or somebody else, someone, if the numbers work, we'll find a buyer for you, and that way you can move on from there. Okay?
So, Nhan, I'm going to turn it over back to you.
Okay, perfect. Well, real quick, we're going to do a quick raffle. We don't have a slide for the raffle, but the raffle basically is that we want to give away a free 30-minute mentorship session. And we usually charge some money for mentorship and stuff like that, but we want to give away 30 minutes of free mentorship where we can actually work with you to see what you need to succeed and move your business to the next level. Now, if you're already doing deals, already have experience, then perhaps we can use that 30 minutes to discuss how we can better work together so that we can grow your business and have a win-win relationship. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over to Nicholas so that way we can go ahead and go through what we call the Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune Homes. Okay, so it's right at the same time when Wheel of Fortune comes on anyway, so we're going to do Wheel of Fortune Homes. Okay, so Nicholas, I turn it over to you. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Give me 1 second.
So basically, yeah, go ahead. Oh, there you go, Nicholas.
Okay, so, all right, guys. So brace yourselves. We'll see who the winner is. What? That was a tie. Wow. Okay. All right. Well, congratulations, Shinor. We're gonna be sending you an email later on, letting you know the schedule of when you would like to chat with Nhan. So keep a lookout for that. But again, congratulations. Even though that looked like it was a tie, I was right in the middle.
All right. Well, we can't argue with the system, Mr. John Dow. We apologize about that, sorry, but I don't want you to get ripped off. So maybe next month you'll get it. Okay. So make sure you join us back next month, and hopefully we'll get you in there. Chinor, congratulations, and we look forward to scheduling that 30-minute session with you and get you started. Okay. So Ari, you'll be getting an email from Ari and maybe Nicholas to schedule that 30-minute session in the next couple of weeks here, and we look forward to getting that going. Okay. Okay, so let's go back to our slides. We have a couple more slides, and then we'll be done for this evening. Let's see where they are here. All right. Okay, perfect. So make sure you like us on Facebook. We are live streaming right now on Facebook at our Fortune's Home Team Facebook page. So if you like what you hear, we do post videos here on a very regular basis. And you can go ahead and like the page so you can get updates there. Okay. In addition to that, next week we are going to be talking about how to get a rental property for free. Okay. And this is a very exciting topic. You can increase your net worth very quickly by following these simple methods, and you don't have to have any money down. All right. So our system is foolproof to where you can get rental properties with no money in, cash flow, and have instant equity. Okay. So make sure you click on the call to action. I'm not sure what happened to the slide there, but make sure you click on the call the call to action at the top there to be able to register for the event. It is free. Reserve your seat before it's sold out. We do have a limited numbers because we want to keep it small, and that way we can address questions at the end in a more intimate environment. Okay, so it's our best way of doing an event with COVID going on and doing things virtually to keep it intimate, but also keep it safe and also virtual. All right, next month for Fortune Homes, we're going to be conducting another meetup virtually, and our topic is going to be buy and hold and also property management. We have a guest speaker, Mr. John Malateska. He's a property manager that handles all of our rental properties and has a whirlwind of information and knowledge on how to manage your property effectively and how he can help you grow your portfolio of rental properties. Right now, he's managing tens of millions of dollars of real estate all across the DMV area and has a whole lot of experience on how to place tenants, how to collect rent, how to evict if needed, and how to understand the current law and moratoriums that's in place because of the coronavirus. So that way you are taking care of the landlord, regardless if your tenants are paying rent or not because of a job loss or whatnot. So with that, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Hope this information was insightful. For those who are attending us live stream on Facebook, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week and also next month at our events with these different topics that we're discussing in the near future. So thank you very much. We'll see everyone then.